Health rocks. Inspired to be substance free.
Every day we are influenced by what we see. What we see on TV, what we see on social media, what we see in magazines, what we see in school, what we see our family and friends doing. All of these things influence us. They influence our decisions. They influence what we choose to wear, what we choose to eat, what we choose to watch on TV, what music we choose to listen to. All of these influences contribute to the social norm. The social norm is whatever a specific group of individuals or a majority of a specific group of individuals is doing. So think about some of the things with you and your friends. Would you consider the social norm to be listening to country music? Maybe it's listening to rap music. Is it a social norm for people in your group to wear cowboy hats? Maybe it's baseball caps. Do people that you associate with all wear Carhartts? Do they wear work boots? Do they wear jeans? Maybe they wear sweatpants. Looking at all of these different things, these are all things that influence us. We all want to be like everybody else. We want to follow that social norm. We want to be in that group. Now, do social norms change? Absolutely. Have you ever looked through your parents' yearbook from school? Or maybe look through an old photo album that your parents have, or maybe your grandparents have? You look through there and you look at their hairstyles. You look at what they're wearing. And maybe you think to yourself, what were they thinking? I look back through my yearbook from a while ago, and I have a tendency to look at it and think, what was I thinking? You know, at that time, it was normal for people to have really big hair. Let me tell you, I had friends who would use an entire can of hairspray on their hair before school every morning because their hair was big and it was tall and they wanted it to stay that way. We wore acid wash jeans. We wore bright neon colors. We wore fishnet gloves. What were we thinking? But that was normal at that time. Big hair, long hair, hair everywhere. Look at some of the bands in the 80s. Hair everywhere. So those were social norms, but the norms can change. Now, you don't wear big hair. You certainly don't use an entire can of hairspray. Most people don't even want you to use canned hairspray anyway. So the norms have changed. Look at movies. Think about movies that were filmed in the 70s or 80s. You watch a movie that was filmed in the 70s or 80s, after you get past how it's filmed and the special effects, look at what the characters are doing. In a majority of those movies, you will have the characters smoking. It was a social norm at that point. Nobody blinked an eye to somebody lighting up a cigarette in a restaurant. It's what people did. It was socially acceptable at that time. Here we are, years later, and it is no longer socially acceptable to light up a cigarette inside a business establishment. People would smoke in office buildings. They smoked at work. There were ashtrays everywhere, in every place that you can imagine. Now, nowhere. You are not even supposed to smoke near a building, let alone inside of a building. Social norms change. They change over time. Some things change for the better. Maybe some things don't. It's all about your perception, and it's about what the majority of people view as normal. So think about what you see on an average day and what you think to be normal. Do you see a majority of people your age smoking, drinking, using drugs, vaping? Majority means more than just a couple. If you really think hard about that, I think you will realize that it's not a majority of people doing that. It's not a social norm. Now, think about what you're wearing. maybe 20 years from now, you'll look back at pictures and maybe you'll be thinking, what was I thinking? It happens. Norms change. What's normal for us now may not be normal for us in 20 years. Norms can change by age group. I wouldn't wear the same thing that my teenage daughter wears, and she probably wouldn't wear the same thing I wear. If I lived in Texas, I might wear cowboy boots, jeans, and a cowboy hat all the time. May not be looked on as quite so normal in Maryland if I tried that. In your area, maybe it's more common to wear jeans and tennis shoes. Maybe you're more like a sweatpants kind of crowd. Maybe you wear your ball cap. Maybe you wear a cowboy hat. Maybe you don't wear a hat at all. Social norms can change, like I said, by age and by geographic area. It's all in what you perceive as being normal. What a majority of people in your specific group perceive as normal. So thinking about that, I just want you to remember that we are influenced by what we see. We're influenced by what we see on social media, by what we see on TV, by what we see in magazines, and by what we see from the people around us. Please remember, we don't all have to fit in. We don't all have to be those square pegs in the square holes. It's okay not to fit in sometimes. When you're looking at alcohol, tobacco, or drug use, that is not the social norm. You'll be hearing some facts that describe what's going on in Maryland. And I hope that you will really think about those and realize once you hear those statistics and those numbers that using alcohol, tobacco products, or drugs in Maryland in your age group is not the social norm. Those are the outliers. Those are the minority of people. The majority of your age group is not partaking and using those substances. So be prepared when you get older. Look back at some of these pictures. See if you're wondering what you were thinking.